And I want to give a special shout out to Becca Swisher, who is joining us today. Becca had posted something in Friends of Family Education, and I rarely go on Facebook in the morning, but I did. And she had posted this really wonderful question that I thought, wow, that'll be a great thing for us to discuss in our group. And then, if people can't join us, then they can watch the video. And then, so just kind of extending this opportunity to share ideas. And here she is, and she has joined us in the flesh. So, if we, as we talk about other things, Becca has something she'd like to bring to the group and pick your brains on. Sarah's making lunch and she'll be better. Becca, would you like us to introduce ourselves? Are you familiar with the other folks who are here?
Yeah, I would love a quick introduction. That would be great. Doesn't need to be lengthy because you probably all know each other well. And thank you for having me. And thank you, Susan, for putting the links on. I see these pop up and I'm never able to jump on just because of the nature of my work. But sadly, we have all of our school districts are closed today. So I'm excited to learn from each of you.
Great, as we're eager to learn from you as well. Well, I'll start. I'm Susan Walker. I'm at the currently, although I put a timer. Where's my phone? Oh well, I have a timer on my app that is a countdown timer for the number of days I have left until May 27th. So I think I'm at about 119 right now. Anyway, so I'm Susan Walker, currently at the University of Minnesota, and I'm going to go to Naomi.
Hey, I'm Naomi Huso. I am with Wayzata Public Schools.
Who do you go to, Naomi?
I have to pick someone. Sorry, Mary Kay.
Oh, I'm Mary Kay Ashley. I'm working part-time at Burnsville Egan Savage Schools as a parent educator.
Who do you pick, Mary Kay?
Lori, go ahead.
Okay. Lori Ersted. I'm a parent educator at Mankato. And Susan, I need to number my days. I have not done that.
Yeah, it's really swift. You just put in the date that you're counting down to, and and you can put in a scene. Like I've got a scene of a beach and water, and yeah, it's cool.
Okay, now where do you go to do this? Google?
I Googled. Yeah, I went to applications and just put in countdown timer, and yep, found one without ads. You don't have to pay for it, and it's very simple, but it works.
Thanks.
Okay, Lori, who do you want to go to?
Becca? Corey?
I'm Becca. I'm a parent educator with UCFE in District 622, which is Maplewood, Oakdale, North St. Paul. And I'll bounce to Ellen.
Hello, I'm Ellen Hafner. I'm a parent educator in Northfield, and I bounce to Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby Zylstra, and I'm a parent educator in Wilmer, Minnesota. And I'll bounce to Yuji.
Hi, so I got my parent educator license in Minnesota and moved to Montana. Right now I'm teaching a virtual parent education class and trying to develop a program in the local community in Whitefish, Montana. Thank you. I will go to, hey, Britta.
I'm Britta. I'm a parent educator in Roseville. And gosh, I don't know who hasn't gone yet. Sarah.
Hi guys, Sarah Hardy, parent ed with District 96, Rosemont, Apple Valley, Egan. And has everybody gone? Greta.
I'm Greta Nelson, and I'm a parent educator in Cambridge Isani Schools. And I don't know, are Kelly and Maggie talking in? Are you just not visible? How about Maggie or Kelly? Yeah, Kelly, go for it.
Looks like if connections aren't great, just typing a little something in the chat works.
So that's what she did. She said, hi, I'm Kelly. So how about Maggie? Maggie, are you able to connect?
Oh, and Kelly's in Cloquet. There we go. And Maggie will be joining us, I'm sure. Maggie was with Minneapolis Public Schools, and she also was at the Department of Ed, but we have her now. So she's at the University of Minnesota, already overworked and underpaid, and she's only been there a few months. So it's the story of our lives. So here we are. So this will be our last meetup for 2021. Let's reflect. Let's reflect, shall we? Let's reflect on the year. Let's start with a word. I'm improvising. Does anybody have a word that you would use to describe, or more? We don't have to be restrictive. What words would you use to describe this year, or how you're feeling right now? Brighter. This is for the folks at home. I'm going to read these out. Brighter, survived, relieved. Oh, Ellen, but still heavy. Yep. Oh, micromanaged. Roller coaster. Ambiguous. Tough. Difficult. Whew. Oh, Becca's hopeful too. Looking forward to growth. A sense of impending doom, unfortunately, and deja vu. Depending doom from the new strain. Sarah?
Yeah, I had a conversation this morning with my 19-year-old who's a sophomore in college and is finally on campus for her first semester. And she's packing like she's not going back. She's just, yeah, like not entirely, but you know, a lot of schools are starting to I don't know if you follow colleges, but they're starting to shutter, send kids home without promise for return. You know, it's feeling like I'm going to need a little time to get my head around that possibility. And also like, it's not a sure thing. So you don't want to like, you know, pre-live it and ruin today. But I just really don't want that to happen.
Yeah. So far, they're not saying anything about that at the U, but honestly, if my last semester teaching is through Zoom, I'm gonna like rip up the paperwork and stay another year. No, I'm kidding, I won't. But that would be the worst. That would just be the worst. But so far, the U's not saying that. So
Susan, I had a friend who diagnosed with breast cancer, went through the mastectomy, came back to online learning and retired. And she was like, it's not the way to end it. It's not the way to end it. No, it's really hard. Yeah.
I actually made, and I'll say that I did because I required for the third test. So what I did this semester with my undergraduate classes, they have exams. They have 3 exams, and what I learned from the COVID year was that I could administer these exams online, and I gave the students a choice if they wanted to come into a classroom where it was quiet to take it, or if they wanted to do it on their own. And it wasn't a, oh, they're going to cheat kind of thing, because I don't care. I mean, I care if they cheat, but I don't put in all of these extra doodads to lock down browsers and stuff like that. I figure they're young adults. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. It's like putting a monitoring thing on your kid's app. Like if they're going to hack, they're going to do it. Anyway, so, but for the third exam, I had them all come into the classroom. Like I found a space that had 178 seats. So they could sit, there were 44 kids and they could sit distance and they were all masked and stuff. But I physically wanted to see them. And I wanted them for the last time that we were together to see each other as a community, because as the semester's gone by, they all started out great, right? But I had a Zoom link to the classroom, and the last few days, there were more kids that were Zooming into class than were present in the classroom for an in-class class. And, it was just a sign of their stress and the enormity of the situation. But I said, as a gift to me, I would like you to be present for this last time. You'll still take the exam on the computer, but you'll be in the classroom together. And it also gave me a chance to not only see them, but I could, I was writing stuff on the whiteboard. Like I wrote, this is your community, not your competition, and anyway, and it was so much better. Right. And there are a number of students who had never taken an exam in a classroom with other students because they started during COVID, or all of their exams are online or whatever. And they were a little like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go. And, they said, this was fine. This was, this worked out well. Anyway, but yeah, it makes such a huge difference to physically see human beings and to be with them, even though they're all masked. Like I couldn't get names, because everybody was behind things. But anyway, well, how about as you look forward for 2022? What are you looking forward to?
The joke my son says is that when you say it out loud, 2022 is 2022. And I think that's kind of Sarah's fear, and it might not be far off the mark with Omicron, and even amongst college student populations that are highly vaccinated. It's spreading like wildfire, which hopefully doesn't get people who are vaccinated very sick, but overwhelms our hospitals. And I fear shutdown stuff happening. I'm hopeful that it won't be in early childhood and elementary schools, because I think they're finding that whole cost benefit thing, the cost is too high. Of not having children in school. But yeah, travel's already getting shut down. And we're just heading into winter. So it's hard for me to look forward without a whole lot of apprehension. I wish so strongly for a robust program with lots of families participating in person and getting to build community. And instead, I feel like I'm kind of holding on to little bits and pieces, and it's like, please don't leave. So yeah, kind of ambiguous feelings looking forward.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to get to Becca's question about reaching out to families in need, because I really feel like the families that are coming back are the ones who don't need us, and so like, how do we get all these families? I mean, I don't know. I think that's a really valid point, because all families need us right now. I'm kidding. Right. I said that tongue in cheek. But I saw a really horrifying display of parenting in Target the other day. And I was just like, oh, how do I get that mom in a supportive group with other moms so that she can learn that what her toddler is doing is totally typically developmental behavior, and there are other ways to do it, and they're going to grab things off the shelf. So anyway, that really piqued my interest, because I just don't feel like we do enough for those families.
Yeah. I want to ask Becca to restate the question, because there are people who didn't see it online. And if somebody's watching the video, just so that they know, and Becca had such a beautiful way of articulating it. And I loved your graphic, by the way. Before that, though, I do want to honor the other things that people have noted that they are looking forward to. And I think I'm looking forward to Naomi's baby, because there are very wonderful things happening coming up in the year, as we're dealing with a sort of sense of ambiguity and powerlessness, that, there are new jobs and new opportunities, and Naomi's baby, and retirements, and graduations, and wonderful things, the kind of thing that, and Lori designing a new, the kinds of things that are beacons of little hope, you know, when we're getting through the sludge. Thank you all for sharing those. And as you have others, please do. But let me turn it to Becca. Becca, would you share the post that you had on Facebook this morning so we can chime in?
Yeah, I won't remember the exact words, but the flavor of it is that we, and I think traditionally so in ECFE, have done a really nice job reaching out to middle class, upper class families who, like Ellen said, also need support. All families need support. I firmly believe that. But I feel exactly what Ellen was saying. We are missing opportunities. And so I just was curious, what creative ways have other programs been able to reach out, build connections, build partnerships that truly help those, really comes down to helping those children and parents who are most vulnerable. And so helping them build skills, helping them understand development, and maybe just changing the trajectory of that family's life a little bit. So I know that you all have creative ways that you've done this over the years. And we have a couple of things that have worked in our different programs. I'm in extremely rural communities, very tiny, like 300-person towns. And so it limits the partnerships that you have the opportunity to create. But there are obviously some very cool strengths that come with small communities as well. So I love, I just love learning from each of you and what you do. And I've been lucky enough to be doing parent education for 15 years now. And so we've tried a lot of things in those 15 years, as I'm sure you all have as well.
Kind of going off of that, I've had a lot of families. So we do something called parent partner in our district. So I work one-on-one with some families that are struggling, and then I get them into ECFE and they're excited about it. And then they'll come like once and then they fall off the grid. And so if you guys, kind of going off of that, have any suggestions for like retaining them and getting them to still want to come and be there, because I felt like they come and then they like it, but they're overwhelmed and then they don't come back. And so that's been a little tricky for us too.
Yeah, I'll just quick jump in with that one too and say, I'll always tell our teachers, if families come in the room and they don't see anyone like them, it's really hard for them to stay. They have to have a lot of courage to decide, no one here looks like me. And that can be all kinds of, race, SES, just any kind of layer, age, are all the parents in the group young and they are 45, and just that whole connection. So I don't really have a good answer for you, except that I have also observed that, and what a cool idea to do one-on-one connections to try to build that bridge. That's awesome.
One of the things we did to try and build up our earlier ages was we sent out an invitation, like with our catalog and what we refer to as a 191Z, and a book for all the children born in our school district in Scott and Dakota County. And they had an invitation to come to a personal one-on-one infant toddler playtime. And there were like 10 choices. And of course, about 2 of them got somebody to come. And then I got permission from my then boss to allow me to schedule them at any time that I had free and there was room free in the building. And I had 3 or 4 families, parent-child combos, who came once and had, lots of attention and lots of fun playing, and then enrolled in classes and stayed. At least pretty much. And one of the things I did was I invited people to, if they had a friend who they thought would enjoy this, to invite the friend to sign up with them too. And we have a deal where if you sign up for an ongoing class, if you come to the first session and you hate it, you can transfer to another class for free, or you can get a full refund. Just the first time you come. So of course, for most of these folks, it was the second time they come, but like one family, the first time they came, they decided to join a class, and then they enrolled with a friend who also wasn't coming to a class. So it's like having the people who might be most in need doing some of our recruiting, which was just lovely. I also read an article, some research, probably about 15 years ago, so it's oldish, but it was about what happens to children who misbehave in grocery stores or Target, and what happens to them after they get to the car, especially if, like, the kid's throwing a tantrum in the line and the parent looks terribly upset and all that. And the children were more likely to be abused once they got to the car if their parents had been shamed, glares or whatever. So, and I know this is a little tiny effort, but I kind of made it my mission that when I go to check out, if there's a little person in a cart in the back of the line, especially who's being kind of busy, that's the line I join, unless I just have to get out of there right now. And I go up and I talk to the child if the parent seems comfortable with that, engaging them so that they're not throwing everything out of the cart or whatever they've been doing, because I had those children, I had those children. And if nothing else, I'm a glare stopper. They can't, so, and just try and be as friendly as possible, just like not to assume anything about those parents, but just saying like, yep, been there, done that. Anything I can do to help, let me know. So yeah, again, a tiny effort, but worthwhile, I think.
I consider that one of my jobs when shopping as well, Mary. But anytime I see a stressed out parent, I'm like, you're doing great. I have so been there. Like, and just keep at it.
Yep.
Love that kiddo, even when they're driving you nuts. and just a little, I get you. You're gonna make it, and then don't stay. I move on, but just even passing in the aisles, just so that people feel seen in a way that's not being shamed. I think shame is so powerful in a way that we don't acknowledge enough. And that it almost always, I think you're right, Mary Kay, ends up being a lashing out, because it's so painful. And you don't want that parent lashing out at their child. So yeah.
I was also like, normalizing like when parents are just doing a good job too. Like I just thought of this when I was at the like a splash pad with my two little babies, a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. And I went there by myself with my 2 kids, and the mom was just like, I just want to say you were very courageous to bring your kids here by yourself. You're doing a great job. And I was like, thank you. Somebody, like, I felt courageous too, bringing my kids here, like also normalizing of just like, you're here by yourself and I see you and you're doing awesome. Like it just feels so good to be like, yeah, you get it. You totally get it. This is hard. I was also going to mention something that my family goes to Robbinsdale for ECFE, and they do, I think they had like a free class, like just go and like check out a class, or I remember them sending like an email with a coupon that said like, yeah, here's one free class, come to any class or something like that. If I'm remembering it correctly. And then Minneapolis also has done like you bring a friend and you get, if they join and attend the class, then you get 50% off, I think, or I don't know, but just like playing around with those deals of bringing a friend, or with my Latinx families, people love to bring like my great auntie wants to come, like, and be like, yep, like just kind of being relaxed on who's enrolled in the class. Cause I know that was a struggle for us to be like, yeah, but grandma's at home. Like, can she just come and she's not on the enrollment list, but can she come and hang out? Or like if I had a couple moms that had other kids who they were just taking care of during the day and they weren't on the list, but they were just with them for the day because it was COVID. So it was just like, yep, come on over, So I feel like also talking to administration about like, can we get laxed on just having people come to like, because it feels so much better to like come with someone you know or something like that. So yeah, just thought I'd share that too. Thanks.
Can I say something about the postcard, the like free class or whatever? I mentioned this on someone asked about baby postcards. The coupon for a free class does not work well, and here's why. If you have a full roster and someone wants to come to a toddler class, they're like, can I come try this class for free? And you have a full room, the answer is no. So you've had someone reach out, which might have been really hard for them. And you're like, sorry, we have no room. They have to hit it perfectly. Because if you think about it, like most of our classes are full right now, surprisingly. So I think a free drop-in class might be really beneficial. That's something that I really want to do. And I mean free. And one thing in our district, a lot of our drop-in classes are not free. And I'm really wanting to push like, no, free, not $3 at the door, not even $2 at the door, 100% free. But I think that is how we get families. So just a word of caution on the coupons, because we have done that for 4 years. It is not doing well, because I've had families call and I have to say, I'm sorry, that class is full. And
I have no idea what St. Paul is doing right now, because I'm several years out from being involved with St. Paul, but they had an infant completely free I would call it drop in and play, except an infant isn't playing, right? A drop-in class that you could come to when you had a newborn. And I think it was for like birth to 3 months or something. So it was really just that like window of when you have a brand new baby, and it was completely free and you could come as many times as you wanted. But I think they had a number of people, because of that, then sign up for a birth to 5 class. So I think that was effective then. And Maggie, I love the idea of having a flexible administration, but I don't. So it's like, what are you doing when you just really don't? Like, we got reamed out because we were told we had a new family sign up. We had clerical bring the family back, and then 3 days later found out it was the wrong family. They hadn't actually been signed up, like they didn't have their paperwork, the family that was brought back to us. And our boss gave us a huge amount of trouble. And it's just like, were we supposed to say, wait, let me double check that you have your paperwork, when clerical's the ones who brought them to us, right? And sorry, no, you're not signed up. You need to go home. Like, when there was tons of room, we definitely didn't have that full class situation that Ellen's talking about. And so I think there's a lot of worry on the administrative end of things, covering their butts, like that if, especially with COVID, it's like, can we do contact tracing? Can we, like, are we able to say who's in the building at what time? I think they have a lot more stress with those things that maybe is going to keep them from being able to be real flexible. But I just wish we could just sign everybody up, and anyone who's bothering to come in the winter time with their little kids, it's like, yes, we're here for you. But that's really hard if your administration is feeling like they need to follow a tight line.
We had to push. Don't get me wrong, we had to push. And I'm sure they're still pushing for that. I mean, and this was before COVID. So like, that's like a whole nother layer. So good call on that too.
We've been trying really hard to, and our district hasn't always done free, and we've been pushing for free. And finally, when COVID hit, our administration was just like, yeah, we need to just get people back in the door, and whatever gets them back in the door. So I wrote in the chat that we have Friday family playtime. It's from 11 to 1. Any family can come, you just have to register. So we have the contact tracing, and also too, just so we know, can kind of keep a tab on families. You can bring a lunch. There's a time to go outside. There's a time to be, in a space, a classroom where you can have lunch. You get to utilize the gyms. It's just a nice way for parents to, number one, get out of the house on a Friday afternoon, morning, afternoon. And then 2, we just started this year. I can't remember what they call it, but it's from 3 to 5, 3:30 to 5 or something like that on Tuesday afternoons, where it's an outdoor play class. And like, unless it is like frigid temperatures that it's not safe for toddlers to be outside, again, it's a 0 to 5. Any family can join, and it's kind of just like a witching hour thing. And that's so we're trying really hard to offer some of those options, at least to get our families comfortable, because it's not a commitment. You just come when you want to. And then our parent educator who's in that class for both of those is really, really good at making those connections and really like, hey, have you thought about an ECFE class? Here's some of the things that are available to you, and kind of just to get those parents aware that if you're liking this, there's other options for you too. Which is sometimes nice. It also too is just nice for our families who really are just looking for somewhere safe or safer to go, where they feel safe.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, back to the question that Becca posed. We did a lot of reaching out, and this is pre-COVID, but we did a lot of reaching out to apartment complex managers, different businesses in the area, just starting to make those connections, and trying to just ask if you have, I'm not sure with the smaller towns if you have apartment complexes and stuff, but we would just say, you know, in your welcome packet that you give families that move in, do you mind including this flyer saying that, hey, we're the local school district, we have programming for your 0 to 5s, you know, and reach out to us. And that was one of our strategies. Also the libraries and places like that. But COVID has put a huge kibosh on a lot of what we've done. We did reach some families. We also too have a really good network of like, we have interfaith outreach in the Plymouth Wayzata community, which is a nonprofit organization that offers a lot of different resources to families. And so they already had partnerships with a lot of those places. So finding those people that have trust in those circles, and kind of helping us get in that way. And then since then, it's all word of mouth. What I've learned is if you can find a few of those key families and make a difference in their life, they will tell all of their friends and share your contact. And all of a sudden your phone starts ringing and it's people looking for the supports that you gave someone else, which has been amazing.
Thinking out loud, I'm wondering if, going back to Becca's original post question, if one of the reasons we seem to reach out to middle-class families better than we are able to reach lower income families or marginalized families has to do with a confidence issue, and how they perceive what is parent education. Like if we could have a better message about what parent education is. In so many states, you only have parent education if you have somehow failed as a parent. And we need to do something to change that messaging. That in Minnesota, that is not what ECFE is about. This isn't remedial, wow, we're going to take your kids away if you don't go to this class. Like that's not what this is. And I wonder if that message is not getting clearly out enough to people who may already have their fears about being judged for their parenting for any number of reasons.
I also think it's a cultural thing too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ellen.
Very.
But, I've had some conversations with some Somali women in our community, and you know, it's typically just their kind of tribe and people that help. And if you're getting outside support, then you know, that's not really something that they would do. So I also feel like there's some cultural barriers too with you know, them wanting to not even get help, but just come have some other people to talk to and things too.
I know, Becca, it's kind of been rolling around in my head. Like ECFE needs a catchy tagline. Like parenting is hard. You shouldn't have to do it alone, because that speaks to all ages, all stages. You know, something like that. Not that it takes a village. don't really like that. I mean, I understand the sentiment, but I don't like the saying. But something that is inclusive of all parents across all cultures. Do you know what I mean? Like there needs to be some catchphrase that you're not, it's.
Ellen, I like what you said about alone, especially with the isolation issues that we're walking through right now. I think
Yeah.
that statement right there was perfect for
Yeah.
the time that we're living. Because I think a lot of people are alone, and that would be beautiful, actually.
Mhm.
That's great. I'm with you there. I've been there for like 40 years, wishing that there would be another way we could say some of this. So good job. I think that's great.
So I'm wondering if I like the sentiment, but I'm wondering if part of American society, not other cultures as much, but American society really champions the nuclear family as all the people you need to do anything, that you shouldn't need anything outside of there. And so, you know, just wondering if people, how people get that. One of the other things I thought about in terms of just not outreach to people we're not reaching, but people who are coming. Like I have 2 infant toddler playtimes, and one has 4 families and one has 2 families signed up. There's never been 4 families present in the one, and there's only once been 2 families in the other one. But I have the room set up for it before we start, and I stay till the very last minute because there are moms of a toddler and a baby who will come rolling in 45 minutes into an hour-and-a-half class and then say, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late. And I say, you know, attendance and ECFE does not go on your permanent record. And, you know, you can stay as long as I have time. And one family, the very first time they came, I stayed an extra 45 minutes because I had the time and because I knew my boss would pay me for that time. But I think sometimes we come with the attitude, or others have the attitude in our number crunching, that if everyone's not there after 15 minutes, like in college, you just leave. And so, and I confess that I start to take down the class towards the end of it, you know, like every 10 minutes, I remove 2 or 3 toys and put them away. And if they showed up at 5 minutes to the end, I'd have to pull some other things out. But I think our welcome when we can is really important.
Can I say, Becca, your question at the beginning, couple things that come to mind. We have just recently gotten some grant money together and put some information with books and table and laundromats in the community. You have to get, you know, a sign on from the owners and that sort of thing, but that's one area that we really hadn't done before. I'm not back at WIC. We used to be at WIC, but because they do so much not in person now, it just doesn't work to go there. But something that might fit with what we're talking about, and it goes along with the nuclear family and the expansion of what a family system and our support systems are, is we started that grandparent class. I've mentioned it before, and we met like 6 times a semester, and I've done that twice now. And in those 2 classes, I've had grandparents who are doing the majority of parenting, some who are custodial parent, and some who live with the children, and some who just live close by and they run across the field to grandma and grandpa's house. And some of them have been low income. I mean, it's been a really diverse group, and very hard. I'm not sure if I'm really recommending this because it's really tricky. Anyway, but regardless of that, that's one thing that we're doing. And we actually now this spring are expanding it to the full semester because of the request of the grandparents. They're like, can we just come every week, every 3rd week or whatever it was, and sometimes twice a week or every other week was too hard. So they've requested that we do it for a full semester. So we are, and it with trepidation and a little fear, we said yes. And then 0 to 3 comes out with Grand Connections. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but they have put together a whole curriculum, 7 seminars. They have done it so you can do it virtually. You could do it, you can bring it in person. They've got all of the all of the PowerPoints or the slide decks done. They have a book for each one, a story time for each one. There's just, I'm so excited. So I'm going to intermix this curriculum every other week with make and takes and file folder games and maybe a picture book that they take home with them, and kind of intermix activities in the parent time with these grandparents. And I'm just renewed in my excitement, and 0 to 3 has a lot to do with it. But anyway, in regards to what we were talking about, I think that's one way to reach those other generations that are having huge impacts. Again, you have to get it to be okayed that it's a grandparent class from ECFE, but we're doing it, and it's I think it's viable, and I think it's the grandparents love it, love it. So anyway, that's just a little bit from here, and I think it goes along with your question, Becca, about population groups that we maybe aren't hitting.
So, Becca, thinking about you mentioned like how to serve, how to reach to the most vulnerable groups, right? I think first of all, we may think about who are the most vulnerable groups. Like for example, BIPOC or Black girls, or all this, and then we can maybe think about how to reach to them. And I remember Sarah Fitt talked about ECFE Park project. So I think in her district and another district, they really did a lot of, they have a bus, and everything they need is in the bus. So they just drive this bus to wherever they want, especially in the summertime, right? In the park, everyone could come for free, right? So they did it, in the different parks, and especially during summertime, it was very good. I think that was very good. And also, I think, to be honest, I feel like from my observation with the classes who had people like immigrants and Somalia or other, I feel, no matter how well if the teacher, the educator is white, many times, there, this cultural barrier, no matter how much we know, it's just lack of that kind of inside, kick, it's like, I know if I talk to other Asian, Chinese women, mom, I will talk completely different, right? Because I know how to talk to them. I know they want, so it's, I feel in our field, I know, ECFE, right? So we really lack of educators from those groups who can represent them and really connect with them. And if we have those colleagues, they can actually share a lot with us through, through as educators' lenses and through the inner group lenses. So I feel we really, it will be helpful if we could increase educators who come from these groups, BIPOC, and I never saw a Somalian parent educator. I never saw African American educator. That is something I'm thinking.
I think it's in the Rosemount, not school district, but Head Start. There is a Somali social worker, and he's really good. He lives in our district, and he's taken classes with us. Has 3 little kids, and I don't know if I've told this story before. Somebody just stop me, but I had him and another Somali dad and a Chinese family and a Mexican family and a family who spoke Arabic and Farsi who were from Iran in evening class called Evening with the Tots. And routinely I would read the book when the kids were eating, because that's the only time they would sit down, and watch. And the parents would kind of hover around the table to make sure like their child's not grabbing somebody else's food or something like that. And I was reading a little board book on manners. And one of the pages said, when you talk to someone, you want to look them straight in the eye to be respectful. And this Somali dad, who's an educator, a social worker, gently cleared his throat. And he'd been in classes with me before. So I looked up and I said, Yaya, is that culturally inappropriate for you? And he said, yep. And I said, say more about that. And he said, well, we teach our children to avert their eyes for people they should respect, teachers, grandparents, others. And so so it would be very disrespectful to look someone in the eye if you're an elder. And I looked around the room and I said, well, I wonder how many other cultures that have that kind of a sense of things. And the Chinese family is nodding very emphatically. And it was so helpful. And I remember just saying, we all want to teach our children respect, but how helpful it is for us to know that we're doing it different ways. I have to say, as someone who also does K-12 subbing sometimes, it was an enormous piece of information to know that that middle schooler who's looking at his shoes, the Somali kid in Metcalf Junior High, he might be trying to be respectful. He could also be ignoring me. He could be Americanized enough that that's normal for him. But, you know, just the possibility that that's not what's happening was really eye-opening for me. And I think the mix we had in that class was just so magic, that we had all those people. And most of the couples who spoke another language, only one of the parents spoke English well, but they had their partner there translating for them. And it was really a fun class for all of us, I think.
I just want to say, like you're mentioning of a Somali social worker, having a district with a really good either social worker and or cultural liaison, even if you don't have a parent educator or early childhood teacher in a certain cultural group, they can make a huge difference. One of our 2 ELL classes, unfortunately not mine, but one of them is packed full because we had such an amazing Hispanic cultural liaison who was connecting with the community and reaching out and finding families like, you need to be in this class. It's going to teach you English and help you with your kids. Like for our specific ELL program, he left for a different position, and it's just like, we are going to be hurting big time because he's who connected with these families in a way that the early childhood and teacher and I can't. And it's like, oh man, if we could hire like 3 or 4 people who, like, if we could hire someone who is Korean, someone who is Somali, and someone who's Spanish speaking, like how many just those 3 would really be able to build our program and reach out to families that we're just completely missing right now. Having someone like that in your district is priceless.
Leah?
Oh, hey. Sorry, I'm joining in. I'm just popping in. But I wanted to, I set up an invite on the Friends of Family Facebook group, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention and just organizing a social gathering in Minneapolis, January 9th, Sunday at noon at the Malcolm Yard Market. So if you're on Facebook, check that out. But yeah, would just love an opportunity to just meet people in person and gather and socialize, talk about parent education and beyond. So just wanting to mention that I'm currently in line to donate some blood. They're historically low right now. So any questions about Sunday, January 9th at the Malcolm Yard Market, noon? I hope to see some of you there. It'd be awesome.
That'd be fun, Leah. Thanks.
Thank you. I was just starting to type in chat, sort of what what I'm hearing, and that is also very reflective of what I picked up from the survey with the educators last spring. And because what you're all talking about in response to Becca's wonderful question, is such a range. And because I think what I'm hearing is this sensitivity to, there's no one fix, right? There's no one family, there's no one ECFE program, there's no one reason families are present or not present. There's a whole range, of reasons. And the kinds of things that you're all identifying, from marketing and outreach, right, to just in communities and partnering with laundromats and WIC programs and the whole 9 yards, churches and synagogues, right, to just raise the awareness that ECFE is even available. And not just raising the awareness and marketing, but also just the amazing sensitivity you all have to how parenting education is perceived, because that's always been a stigma, right? And unfortunately, our country sucks so much in terms of supporting families that when people hear parenting education, they still have that sense of, then they must think I'm doing something wrong, right? Or this is only for parents that aren't good parents, and I'm not a bad parent. Are you saying I'm a bad parent, right? And so kind of trying to destigmatize that. And quite honestly, Minnesota does way better than others just by virtue of having a program like ECFE out there for 40 plus years and being part of that, the culture of the state, that there is a gathering space for parents of children from 0 to 5. Everybody's welcome and so forth. So it's better than some, but you're still recognizing the challenges that exist. And then also those challenges of how parenting education and coming together as parents is perceived within communities, right? And within cultures and things like that. So, you're identifying that, and then sort of that next phase of, if people are interested, what are those barriers to even get them in the door? And so all of the things that a lot of programs do in terms of transportation. And when COVID was there was all the technical things, the technology things like Wi-Fi hubs and, things like that, and taking things to people's homes, reduced fees, so there's kind of this big basket of, you're interested in ECFE, but you can't come, or a translator, and I'm also increasingly sensitive. I was just meeting with a student who is Somali, who works with children on the autism spectrum, and also that sense of disability. And so, what assistance is being made available to families and children where disability may be present. So just getting them in the door, and then when they're in, just how do you keep them, right? And how recognizing their level of comfort. And, one of the things I really loved about what Mary Kay said too, is recognizing that not every teacher is the same, and parents are not going to feel the same level of comfort in every single class. And so one of the nice things about that option is, hey, if you didn't like my teaching style, or you don't feel comfortable here, there's this door to go to another class. And there's no, you're not, I won't be offended if that's something that you're concerned with, right? And so also recognizing that fit and that alignment and that sense of comfort and that sense of culture that you all are so amazing at creating. I just think about just even having that conversation, about grandparenting and about culture, and about, what happens when your children are in grocery stores and stuff. If a parent comes in there and feels shame and that shame is maintained in some way by other parents who are rolling their eyes or whatever, well, of course they're not coming back, right? But you all have such an amazing way of creating that climate of comfort. So if you can just get them back the next time, right? And then there's just like, this is cool. Like, I am going to come back and I'm going to tell my friends about it, right? Or recognizing that they may feel more comfortable if they bring a friend. So there's the marketing, there's the reducing the barriers to get them there. There's thinking about their own comfort, once they're in. And then all of your wonderful ideas about retention and, what's important to the family. So this is such again, Becca, thank you so much for raising the question. I hope that at least the responses from our conversation today have been helpful to you. So let me come back to you and ask you, you know, how this was, and especially thinking about your own context and living in a rural area and with the families that you have.
I have found this conversation to be very affirming and reminded me of things that we maybe did try 10 years ago, and it's maybe time to revisit. Yeah, as a coordinator administrator, I am discouraged on behalf of some of you who have offered that help. That's a huge bummer. I will say, in my relationships with the superintendents I work with, if I come to them with a proposal tied to hours, budget, and tied to desired outcomes, like I want to reach more families earlier so the child is more ready for school, usually I can garner support, but it takes a long time to build that trust and relationship. I think it comes down to connection, you guys. I think so much of it. So anyway, thank you. Thanks for letting this be our topic.
Thank you. Leah, is your hand still up just because you haven't dropped it, or do you have just something else that you want to say?
No, definitely not. I will figure out how to drop it. Sorry. Great topic though. What resonates is creating a climate of comfort. I'm just going to keep that as a goal.
Yep. It is the secret sauce I have discovered about ECFE that I have very rarely seen in other parenting education, because other parenting education that is more short-term and very outcomes focused and very curriculum focused, not that ECFE doesn't focus on curriculum, but there is such an attention. And I think the long-term nature of it and the community-based nature of it and the very relational nature of it and the family-oriented nature of it, that it isn't just for parents, right? All of those things together. And then of course, just the amazing ways that all of you are and teach. So thank you. Yes, Mary Kay.
Can I add one more thing?
Please
If you have
do.
something unique, leverage it. I know Mankato and Burnsville both do Ready for Kindergarten. And and I don't know if any of you know about that program, but it's a program that's just parent ed, 3 nights in a year, but they get learning tools and toys free if they live in the district. And if you don't live in the district, but you sign up for an ongoing ECFE class in our district, it's also free. So it's like $150 a year. And you can bring both parents, 4 grandparents, the child care provider, anything you want to the class for that same amount. So, and we try to use that to good effort. And it was our community ed director's idea to add anyone who signed up for an ongoing class, because it kind of suits both needs. So.
Great. Thank you. What a fabulous idea. Thank you all so much. This has been wonderful. I'll be posting the video. And again, this is our last meeting for 2021. So hopefully 2022 isn't 2022. I saw a thing on Twitter the other day where there was like a metronome. It's just like my like every day, and it's on one side is like, you know, I'm looking forward to the day. Today's a shit show, you know. So anyway, so with that, I love you all. You all are so incredibly meaningful to me, and you know, having the honor to meet with you on a regular basis and every week is just fabulous. It's just fabulous. It just fills my heart. So everyone, does anybody have anything else that you'd like to share or say before we close for the day, the year? All right.
A tiny piece of advice, really take a break over winter break.
That's right. As Mary Kay says, you know, that screwdriver, if you don't take care of it, is just gonna sit there and get rusty. And, you know, we don't want you to be rusty screwdrivers.
It was interesting because we did self-care last week, and then I went to MDE and they did self-care. And then I read my Minnesota Department of Health for early childhood screening, and that was on self-help, our healthcare and our self-help. And then our union put something out, and that's on self-help, and then our self-care. I mean, it's just, and I'm not even saying it kind of quiply as anecdotally. I believe several of those organizations are doing it from data around burnout and around people not doing well and are not and are surviving but not thriving. And I think there's some real validity behind all of the push from these organizations because they see it. So I hope they keep looking at that, and I hope they keep figuring out what we can do to help our communities do well.
Absolutely.
So anyway, just an FYI, it's really important. I guess I'm speaking. Can I say speaking to the choir here? Yeah, okay, I'll do that. A little bit. But.
Well, and if I can paraphrase what Ellen said, being a parenting educator is hard. You don't need to do it alone.
And Susan, thank you so much for giving us this space to help us not be alone in our journey too.
Oh, well, just making really good use of a tool of the internet, right? And we can dress however we want to dress. That's right. All right, everyone. Have a fabulous holiday.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.